Hi folks, it is Mark Smith with Family Tree Brand Life Coaches, and for the first time in like 74 efforts to make live stream, for some reason on YouTube, live stream is not available tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a video of the topic. I could pretend that you guys are messaging in, but that would be weird, so I won't do that. But sorry about that. It isn't our Wi-Fi or our devices. It's YouTube just having some issues, and there is no live streaming available, at least for now. So darn it all, I was really looking forward to interacting with you guys, but I'll have this video up in just a little bit. So the topic of the video is the meaning and purpose of romantic love. So what I was going to do on the live stream is give a pop quiz and say, who knows the meaning and purpose of romantic love? And see how many of you got it right. So the answer to the question is the meaning and purpose. The purpose of marriage is to make you absolutely, totally, and completely friggin' miserable. And when I tell people that, couples that, they find celebration in that because they're miserable. So if that's where they're supposed to be, then there's some measure of victory and success in that. But then I need to explain. I think this is a very relevant topic for people who have narcissistic abuse, who pick one narcissist after another narcissist after another narcissist. No narcissist, no matter how cunning they might be, made you be in a relationship with them. That was your choice. So you have to understand the meaning and purpose of romantic love, especially if you attract narcissists. Because if you don't, it will kill you. It will destroy your potential. It will destroy your life. So let me share with you. I've got some drawings that I wanted to share. I haven't actually drawn them yet, but here we go. So everybody gets wounded in their childhood, and some of us get worse wounds than others, but everybody on the planet gets wounded in one way, shape, or form. So Mother Nature, in her wisdom, provides us with defense mechanisms about 18 months old. So here we go. That is a picture of the defense mechanisms and the buried wounds. And so these defense mechanisms begin at about 18 months old, and they become more and more sophisticated as time goes by. And the deeper the wound, the thicker the walls. So Mother Nature, in her wisdom, has three reasons or three agendas for creating these walls. The first agenda, I gotta find out where the camera is. The first agenda in providing these walls is to protect you when you're a child. Mother Nature doesn't want children facing head on the worst truths and feelings of their childhood. Mother Nature was really what she was wanting to accomplish was that to protect children so that they're damaged as least amount as possible. I've had some people horrifically abused, and these defense mechanisms saved them. If we didn't have these, most of us would be in psych hospitals, we'd be alcoholics, or we'd be dead. It saved us from the worst parts of our childhood. The second agenda Mother Nature has in providing these defense mechanisms is Mother Nature wants you to have your defense mechanisms still in place all through your 20s and halfway through your 30s. Mother Nature wants you to be innocent, unafraid of love and marriage, very much wants you to marry, fall in love, marry, and have children, propagate the species. And as long as you're well defended and you're not feeling your fear and you're not seeing who the other person really is, you're crazy enough to get married. There was an article I was putting on our website. There was some quote, and it said, the reason most marriages aren't very successful is when the people engage in the contract, they're insane. and being enmeshed and overly psychologically bonded is a form of insanity, actually. But there is a third agenda that Mother Nature has for these defense mechanisms, and that is Mother Nature wants to heal the wounds. A couple weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I took Renda and I went to the beach on the Hartley, and we stopped at the grocery store afterwards, and I stopped my bike, and for some reason I didn't kick the kickstand down. So this huge Harley fell over, and when it fell over, my calf area, inside calf area, seared a big burn about the size of this rock here, all along the inside of my calf. And however, I'm not going to stick my calf up on the camera, but there's new skin a month later. It's different colored skin. I'll always have a scar, but it's pretty much healed. Mother Nature heals the body. Doctors don't heal the body. Doctors take cancer out or bad stuff out, and they put good stuff in, like new parts or medication, radiation, whatever. And then the body, we lay in the hospital bed, and our body heals. And it continues to heal after we get out of the hospital. But this person right here is unhelpable, irredeemable, and untreatable. Because if you try to tell them anything, it'll hit their wall and bounce off. By the way, if you guys watch this video, you're not able to message, but you can leave messages and talk to each other that way. So here's this person. You talk to them, and they're going to be very defended, very defensive. In the Bible, in Proverbs, it says, do not strongly rebuke a mocker, lest they hate you. Which is the dangerous thing about our job as therapists, is people come in and they pay good money, and they come in and they tell us they want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. But they tell us they want to hear the truth, and if you come to Family Tree, you're going to hear the truth. But a mocker is somebody who, like this, who's well defended. Many times underneath their defense mechanisms, they have shame. and they have rage. So here they are, walled off with titanium strength defense mechanisms, defensiveness, and then rage before you even get to the wound. So Mother Nature needed a mechanism to help people. It isn't so much that the purpose of marriage is to help you to heal. The purpose of marriage is to drill through the wall, to drill through the defense mechanism, to get past the shame and the rage, and to have the wounds of your partner come bleeding out. This person right here is very treatable because their walls have been broken down, which generally takes place from about the age of 35 to about 55, with the magical age for most people of being about 45 years old. So Mother Nature needed a mechanism to rip down the walls and to get people an opportunity to heal. What could that mechanism be? Couldn't be marriage counseling. How many people in recorded history have seen a good marriage counselor? Hardly any in the scope of things. It couldn't be religion, because there's a lot of different religions, and why would some people get an opportunity to be psychologically redeemed and not others? And the truth is, even people like, for instance, in our country, people who are like super fundamentalist Christians, you think that they would be emotionally healthier and have less divorce because, they've been healed by their faith. The truth is, the divorce rate is actually a little bit higher for people like that. So healing emotionally, there was only one thing that it could be. What's something that almost everybody on the planet participates in? Falling in love. Almost everybody falls in love at least once in their lifetime. So that mechanism, it had to be something everybody on the planet has a fair shot at participating in. Number two, it had to be time delayed. Time delayed because you need the enmeshment, as much as 7 years of enmeshment where you're stoned on love, where you don't really know the danger you're in, you don't really know who your partner is, and it seems like a good idea at the time to get married and have babies. So there's this period of time. So the pain is time delayed. And you talk with somebody who's recently married, who's a young person, and they're living in la la land. Some people in midlife who are new in relationships think that they're going to have bliss the rest of their life because they found the right person. And it's just not true. If you grew up with a really dysfunctional childhood, you're going to struggle in relationships the rest of your life. That's the truth. The third criteria, I have to hold this finger down. The third criteria for that Mother Nature needed to have for this mechanism is it had to cut through defense mechanisms. It had to cut through the titanium. And romantic love hurts. Love hurts. Love scars. Love wounds, as the song says. So you're brought up by a narcissist or an addict or an abandoner, and basically what happens is your picker, your sexuality gets calibrated. How? Are you born being attracted to crazy borderlines? Absolutely, positively not. Are you born being attracted to narcissistic monsters? Absolutely not. You're born, I think, as a pretty blank slate, and our sexuality is calibrated by our emotional wounds. And then we get the walls to survive, to get through our 20s, to fall in love, to get married, to have babies. And then we discover that this wonderful, perfect individual we were enmeshed with and saw no flaws in, if you grow up with monsters, you find out eventually that they're a monster too. The only person that you were going to marry was a monster if you were raised by monsters. So now, there is one codicil, there is one read the fine print in the contract. There are some people who are blessed enough to have a reaction to where they actually fall in love and marry the opposite of their parent, or what I call their antitype. So I was fortunate enough to fall in love with a woman when I was 19 years old who was the exact polar opposite of everything my mother was. My mother was mean, controlling, aggressive, borderline, raging, jealous, manipulative, and the wife I married in my youth was codependent, sweet, kind, giving, gentle. But what happens if you pick somebody who's your antitype, you're probably in midlife, when you get to 45, somebody's going to come along who's your type, and it's going to be like cocaine. It's going to be like you're drawn to this person, like there's this energy there, and you just sort of run out of gas with somebody who is your antitype. So, what I'm saying to most of you out there who are watching this, who are going to watch the live stream, is you are wired to pick a narcissist. At this point, if you go to a party and there's 99 people there of your sexual interest, whether you be gay or straight or whatever, who, let's say they don't have a narcissistic bone in their body, but one of them is a stone cold narcissist, most of you are going to gravitate and be mesmerized and be drawn in by the narcissist. Even though it's obvious they are who they are, you're just going to think they're sexy, you know? So that's what I have to say to y'all. Yeah, we were shredded. Yeah, we were shattered. Yeah, what these people did was despicable. But at some point, you thought they were sexy, and you started to spend time with them, fall in love with them, make love to them, and put your own self in the line of danger and terrible calamity, really. So, many years ago, a minister friend of mine asked me, he says, "What's the key to marriage counseling?" And I failed his little test. He wanted me to say, get the Bible out and quote the Bible. And I do quote the Bible many times. But that's not the key to marriage counseling. The key to marriage counseling is every single couple I've ever worked with in 32 years, there's always one of them who presents as the victim. One of them presents as the bad guy, and one of them presents as a victim, or they both present as a victim. Then you really got your work cut out. But I told my minister friend, I'll tell you exactly what the key to marriage counseling is to enlighten, to really bring epiphany to the person who thinks they've been victimized, that in fact they never have been victimized by their spouse. That there's only one person responsible for your love life. There's only one person responsible for your safety in your love life, and that's you. And there's people who did victimize you. I'm looking for a little story I'm going to read for you. There are people that did victimize you, but they did so in your childhood. But in your adult life, you signed up. You raised your hand and said, yes, sir, I'll take that behavior from you. Nobody can victimize you as an adult other than, let's say, an airplane flies into a tower and you're killed. You've been victimized. But in a romantic relationship, I don't think anybody in the history of time has been victimized. We all pick who we need to pick. How do you get healed? You get healed by interacting with the same kind of person that you grew up with. And you may be hid from them and cowered as a child, but eventually the replicate of your narcissistic father or narcissistic mother, you eventually stand up to them and have a voice, and you're not so powerless in the process. So I want to read you this cute little story, and a lot of you have heard me read this, but it explains what the purpose and meaning of romantic love is in a really cute fashion. Again, our sexuality is calibrated by our wounds. My lovely gay friends, my best friend is a gay fellow, and I think the official word is that gay people are born gay. No, they're not. I assure you, I wasn't born attracted to mean, crazy, borderline chicks. I got that in my childhood growing up, and nobody's sexuality is exempt from the immutable law of nature that your sexuality is calibrated by the wounds of your childhood. Now, there are a lot of middle-aged Christian married men who don't want to be gay, who are against being gay, but when their sexuality got calibrated, they're gay, and they didn't pick it, and they can bury it, they can deny it, they can not live it, but it is who they are sexually. It is how they're wired. So I know that's controversial, saying that homosexuals aren't born homosexual, but just think about, why would one group of people be born with their sexuality intact and nobody else? That makes no sense at all. Women who grow up with their fathers beating their mothers, who do they marry? They marry ragers and men who beat them. And then they get divorced and they do it again. They weren't born with that. They grew up seeing their dad beat their mom, and it got pounded into their psyche. And everybody's sexuality is calibrated by your wounds in your childhood. I've often said, let's say I roll into heaven one day. I hope it's a long time from now. I'm turning 60 next week. So I'm hoping for 30 more years because I like life, and I think I have a lot more to do, and a lot more fun to have, and a lot more interaction with my kids and hopefully some grandkids. I have lost track of my thought of where I was going there altogether. If somebody was here, they could remind me. But I know that's a controversial thought, that people who are gay aren't born that way. But there's just no truth to it at all. It seems to make sense because from their earliest memory they had those feelings, and I don't know exactly when sexuality is calibrated. I just know. Oh, I was talking about middle-aged Christian married men who don't believe in being gay, but that's just how they're wired. So don't send me a bunch of nasty messages. I'm telling you the truth here. Everybody's sexuality is calibrated by the wounds of their childhood. I was talking about going to heaven. So let's say I roll into heaven and I'm going to demand a meeting with the big guy immediately, which probably isn't going to impress anybody up there. Might come across as sort of bossy, sort of entitled. So I'll say, Lord, so you're God and in control and all powerful, and somebody grows up and they're horrifically abused by a narcissist, and your plan to heal them is to provide them with cover to where they hide their wounds for 25, 30, 35 years, but they're calibrated to marry a narcissist just like the one they grew up with, and then they get their guts shredded, and then they have lots of opportunity to feel and cry and watch YouTube videos and go to therapy and heal the underlying wound. That's the plan that you came up with, Your Holiness. And I'd say, is there a kinder way? Haven't we been through enough as children? Do we have to go over it again and again and again in life, in our adult life, and live that same nightmare? But I know what the answer would be. The answer would be, sorry, dude. The only way that God can heal people in their adult lives, it had to be romantic love. There was no other option that would rip down the walls and make you reenact the same themes from your childhood because you unconsciously but willingly married somebody who actually was a carbon copy of the person who hurt you the most. So, the Sparrow story. Once upon a time, there was a non-conforming sparrow who decided not to fly south for the winter. However, soon the weather turned so cold that he reluctantly started to fly south. In a short time, ice began to form on his wings, and he fell to the earth in a barnyard, almost frozen. Then a cow passed by and crapped all over the little bird. Little bird didn't like being crapped on. Little bird thought his life was over, but the truth is that the manure warmed him and defrosted his wings. Warm and happy and able to breathe, he started to sing. Just then a cat came by, heard the chirping, cleared away the manure, found the little bird, and promptly ate him. So there's two morals to the story. Number one, everybody who shits on you, not only are they not necessarily your enemy, they're your best friend. So the people that have wounded me the most have caused me to heal and grow the most, which makes them my best friend. Secondly, everyone who gets you out of the shit is not really your friend. That can be a YouTube video maker who vilifies narcissists but doesn't make you work on your own stuff and heal your own wounds that got you in that situation to begin with, teaching you to go no contact, and then you turn around and pick another narcissist. That can be a divorce attorney. That can be somebody that you have an affair with. Can shift you out of your pain and into feeling some bliss for a while. So another story I like to tell along the lines of the purpose of romantic love, and you might have heard this in a movie with the scorpion and the frog, but there's a frozen snake, and a guy is hiking on a mountain, and he comes across the frozen snake, and he's like, poor snake, I'm going to try to save this poor snake. So he puts the snake by the fire that he built, and 2 or 3 hours later, sure enough, the snake starts moving around and appears to be okay, snuggles up next to the guy. All of a sudden, the snake bites him right on the neck. And there's no medical attention available, and the snake is deadly poisonous. And the guy has about 10 minutes to live. So the guy goes, Snake, what is up with you? Why did you do that? I saved your life and you just turned around and murdered me. Why? And the snake goes, well, dude, I'm a snake. That's what we do. I'm just doing what we do. Probably shouldn't have picked me up. And so there's so much emphasis in this narcissistic abuse movement on the nature of the snake, the terribleness of the snake, the qualities of the snake. And there's very little emphasis on why we're drawn to the snake and why it's wired into our sexuality to be attracted to snake after snake after snake after snake. And there's a lot of vilifying of narcissists when a snake bites you because why? Because that's who they are. Well, why does a narcissist use you, abuse you, and then discard you? Because that's who they are. Whose job was it to recognize their snakeness, their narcissism, and flee and protect yourself? That was your job. You just were too unhealed and unaware to be able to do it. To do this kind of work on yourself, whether you're seeing a therapist or whether you're watching YouTube videos, whether you're a part of our wonderful Tuesday every other night community that couldn't meet tonight because the live stream was on the blink, you need 5 qualities. Number 1, you got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. You have to be motivated to fix yourself, because when you look at yourself, you're sort of sick of yourself. And you'll do anything and everything to fix yourself. People come in my office because they don't want to get divorced. But when they get there, I try to shift them. We're here to do family of origin work and heal the wounds at your core as a wounded little kid. The second thing is you need to be highly teachable. When I get narcissists in the room, they want to argue with me. And interrupt me, and I kick them out of my office because I don't have energy for nonsense. Like, they're not teachable. The third thing is you have to have the strength to feel your emotional pain. What's the saying? Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. There's some truth in that, and there's some non-truth in that. There's another biblical saying, the Lord isn't going to give you anything that you can't handle, that you can't survive. And I question that too, but I've survived so far. I think I've got through the hard part of it, but you can't even put into words how painful narcissistic abuse and complex PTSD is. The fourth thing is you need to trust the process, whether it's trusting your therapist, trusting a forum group, trusting an author, trusting a YouTube teacher, trusting a group therapy member, trusting a treatment center. You got to trust in order to make progress in your therapy. And number 5, you got to do a lot of homework. You got to read a lot of books, listen to a lot of books, and watch a lot of YouTube videos. So what I'm suggesting is that romantic love is not what people think it is. They think it's wonderful and lifelong lasting, and the problem is you just haven't found the right person. Everybody finds the right person. It's just that the right person is so wrong for you. That's what makes them right for you. So what we espouse is a process of recovery. And recovery begins when you hit bottom and you're broken and your walls are down. And at that point, you'll do anything to get better and feel better and hopefully save your marriage. Number 2, with recovery, is you gain a lot of insight. You get a lot of light bulbs. You learn who you are and where you came from. Number 3, we call it deep processing. And that's just weeping. There's so many tears in all of us. And I never thought I could cry as much as I did when I went through my narcissistic abuse experience 4 years ago. But there were so many tears down there because my wound was early on abandonment and detachment from mother. And so I needed a fake girlfriend, which was my first experience with a borderline. I needed a false fiance who was a replicate of my mother, because my mother in essence was a false mother. So in all those cases, I picked the right person. And then after the fiance, then there was really a fake total psychopath, which also was what I needed. I needed to be shredded over and over and over again, and I volunteered for every shredding. You know, it's as if somebody had a wood chipper and they said, "Mark, how would you like to stick your arm down there and get wood chipped?" And I'm like, sounds like a good idea at the time. That's what we do. That's what we do. So, best therapy session I ever had, I showed up at a therapist's office, took my shoes off, laid on the couch, and wept like an infant child for an hour. All the lady did was give me tissues. And then after an hour, I sat up, blew my nose. This is back when you wrote checks. When you saw a therapist, wrote her a check and left. And there wasn't 5 words between us in the whole session. but I left having deep processed a big chunk of that wounded inner child. And then the fourth thing in recovery is getting better, getting healthier, having healthier boundaries, being empowered, not being codependent, not being counterdependent, being able to spot narcissists, being true to your feelings, paying attention to your intuitions, having appropriate boundaries with consequences. Well, I think we're all sad members of our community who look forward to the live stream tonight. YouTube is a free service, and it's the first time in 94 times that we haven't been able to have a live stream show. So I'm going to try actually to get on again, see if it's fixed, but I'm going to go ahead and post this video. So please join, subscribe to our channel, YouTube channel, then you'll be notified of the live stream show. Also visit our website where we have now 150 articles that have been downloaded to our site, and you can visit that at familytreecounseling.com. I also have some books that are temporarily offline, but I'll take care of that, and they'll be for sale again fairly soon. So sorry for the no live stream. I'm going to try it again. Maybe we can chit chat for a little bit. But I hope this message has been helpful. It has profound implications for people who are prey and targeted by narcissists. This is your Achilles heel. This is why you're vulnerable. And in order to heal, you have to get shredded. And if you don't learn enough by the first shredding, you get another shredding. And it feels like a crime, but it's a blessing in disguise. Thanks for watching. God bless.